Hey guys! This is Paulina, and in this video we're going to learn about relative clauses. There are two types of relative clauses, and it's important to know when we use them. We will have a look at when we use defining and non-defining relative clauses, which relative pronouns we use in relative clauses and when, and finally, how we make sentences which contain relative clauses. So, when do we use relative clauses? We use relative clauses to give more information about a person, place, object, situation, etc. There are two types: defining and non-defining relative clauses. Look at these sentences. They have the same relative clause, which was read. In the first sentence, with the comma, the relative clause isn't necessary to understand which t-shirt the girl is talking about. It's just extra information. In the second sentence, without the comma, the relative clause is necessary in order to define which t-shirt the girl bought. Look, I bought the cheapest t-shirt, which was red. I bought the cheapest t-shirt, which was red. Can you match them to the pictures? Yep. Sentence number 1 talks about the t-shirts on our right, and the second sentence is about the t-shirts on our left. When do we use relative clauses? We use defining relative clauses to show information which is necessary to define which object, person, place, etc. we're talking about. I bought the cheapest t-shirt, which was red. Here the relative clause, which was red, is necessary. She didn't buy the cheapest t-shirt, the purple one. She bought the cheapest red t-shirt. We use non-defining relative clauses for information which isn't necessary to define which object, person, etc. we are talking about. It's just extra information, like gossiping a little bit. I bought the cheapest t-shirt, which was red. Here the relative clause, which was red, isn't necessary. We know that she bought the cheapest t-shirt. The fact it is red is just extra information. Defining relative clauses have no comma. Non-defining relative clauses have a comma. That's a big difference. What about relative pronouns? Relative pronouns connect the relative clause to the rest of the sentence. We use different relative pronouns depending on what we are describing. Look at the examples and complete the table with one of the relative pronouns in bold. We use who for people, which for things and animals, where for places, when for times, and whose for possessions. In defining relative clauses, we can also use that instead of who or which. We cannot use that after a comma with non-defining relative clauses. Be careful about that. In defining relative clauses, never with non-defining, we can omit the relative pronoun who, which, or that when the relative pronoun is the object of the clause, not the subject. Look. He's the boy who I walk to school with. He's the boy I walk to school with. The boy is the object of the clause here, so it can be omitted. I walk to school with the boy. I read a book which was set in New York City. I read a book was set in New York City? Nah. The book is the subject of the clause here, so it can't be omitted. The book was set in New York City. Let's practice. Look at the sentences. They all have errors. Correct them and justify your answer. Let's do the first one together. Last week, I went to see my brother Tom, who lives in London. Well, last week I went to see my brother Tom, comma, who lives in London. Why? Well, normally you only have one brother whose name is Tom, so that's why. Who lives in London is extra information. Alright? How about the second sentence? She is my neighbor. That mother is really famous. Whose mother is really famous? Jack is the boy where I study with on Saturdays. Now this one's easy. Who I study with, or you can even omit it. This is my new baby sister that turns 1 month old tomorrow. Well, we need who, because in non-defining relative clauses, we cannot use that. Alright? Is that the car whose you sold last year? Which you sold last year? And the final question. This is the photo which I told you about yesterday. Well, this is a defining relative clause, so we cannot use a comma, yeah? And here we have some image credits from the publisher. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, you can ask me in class. Bye!